says talks are proceeding. Iran's foreign minister, though, denies any negotiations, saying there's only been an exchange of messages. Here's what President Trump had to say.
They are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people. They're also afraid they'll be killed by us.
Now, the White House says the timeline for the war is still 4 to 6 weeks and issued this warning if Iran doesn't make a deal.
President Trump does not bluff, and he is prepared to unleash hell. Iran should not miscalculate again. Any violence beyond this point will be because the Iranian regime refused to understand they have already been defeated and refused to come to a deal.
Meantime, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the broader campaign against Iran is still ongoing. Sources say Israel is concerned that the U.S. could declare a one-month ceasefire to allow for talks with Iran. CNN spoke to Netanyahu's foreign policy advisor.
Well, Iran always lies. We've learned that. They always lie. But more importantly, our objective is to remove the existential threat posed by this Ayatollah regime. The best way of doing that is to remove the regime. Another way of doing that is to decimate their capabilities, decimate their military capabilities until they get to the Stone Age.
Jim Sciutto in Tel Aviv today. Amid all this, more U.S. forces are heading to the Middle East, and we are learning that Iran is building up defenses of Karg Island to protect against a potential U.S. ground attack. That tiny island handles nearly all of Iran's oil exports. Meanwhile, frustration on Capitol Hill on Wednesday after lawmakers received closed-door briefings about the war in Iran. One Senate Democrat says he thinks the Trump administration has no plan for reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
What they did confirm for us in that briefing today was that there is no way to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. There is no military plan to open the strait. The strait is effectively going to remain closed until the war ends. So that's bad news for American consumers.
Chris Murphy, Democratic Senator from Connecticut, as we look live at Capitol Hill. It's just after midnight there. The White House the House briefing was reportedly acrimonious, with one Republican storming out, another calling it the most contentious he's seen. But dissatisfaction was evident on both sides of the aisle.
We're not getting answers from the administration on the end game, on the strategy, on how they're going to protect the 50,000 troops who are in that region, how we're going to de-escalate, and what our ultimate goal is. And our service members deserve better.
Would you support troops on the ground in Iran on this point?
No, that's 100% crystal clear from the beginning. No. The answer is no. We can achieve the strategic goals that Donald Trump wants to achieve without doing that. I don't support that.
For more on the potential U.S. ground operation on Karg Island, Diamond reports from Tel Aviv.
Well, there's no question that the Israelis, like a number of military experts, understand that any potential U.S. military invasion of Karg Island would carry tremendous risks for U.S. personnel who would be involved. One Israeli source telling us that there is concern that should U.S. Marines take control of Karg Island, that Iran could immediately retaliate using a variety of weapons at its disposal, including shoulder-fired missiles and drones. Keep in mind that Karg Island is only about 20 miles away from the Iranian mainland. And this source also said that the hope is that they won't take that risk and that they will instead fire at the oil fields, but that there's simply no way to know. And this comes, of course, as Israeli officials are monitoring very closely to see which track President Trump is going to follow here. Is he going to follow the military track as he is building up this force of Marines and airborne, 82nd Airborne troops as well? Or is he going to pursue this diplomatic track that could potentially see U.S. and Iranian officials in Pakistan as early as this weekend to discuss a way out of a potential escalation of this war? I was speaking to an Israeli official tonight who made clear to me that, look, Israelis are prepared for all of the potential scenarios that President Trump is considering at this moment. They're clearly letting the United States stay in the driver's seat here as President Trump considers next steps. But there's no question that they feel like they haven't yet achieved all of their objectives, and they would very much like to continue this military campaign. But they are open to a diplomatic pathway if, and that's a big if those objectives can be achieved at the negotiating table as well.
Ivan for us in Tel Aviv. For more on the diplomatic track Jeremy just talked about, we go to Ivan Watson, who joins us live now from Pakistan. Ivan.
Hi there, Alex. That's right. Pakistan is one of a number of countries that have been involved in kind of the mediation and the attempts to create channels of communication between the Trump administration and the embattled leadership in Tehran in the midst of this raging war. There are other countries as well, Turkey, Egypt, Oman. But we've heard from two senior Trump administration officials that there's a possibility that there could be talks as early as this weekend here in Pakistan, and that the Pakistanis were instrumental in delivering a 15-point list of expectations from the Trump administration to the Islamic Republic of Iran for what they would like to see to try to find an off-ramp to the war. In response, we've seen in Iranian state media, Iran issue a number of conditions that it would want, and they seem pretty intense when you're looking at this war, that they want a complete halt to aggression and assassinations, the establishment of concrete mechanisms to ensure the war on Iran does not resume, a clearly defined payment of war reparations and damages, with the bombing continuing day after day and night after night. Those costs are certainly mounting from the amount of damage that has been incurred by the joint U.S.-Israeli bombing campaign, and also to guarantee that Iran can exercise sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. And what that exactly means is not clear. They closed that vital channel for the past now more than 3 weeks, and now are only allowing a trickle of commercial shipping through, and it appears that they are imposing the conditions, Iran is, of which ships may pass right now, which has added to the surge in energy prices around the world. President Trump has indicated that he's claiming that Iran desperately wants a deal. Take a listen to what Iran's top diplomat has said about the current state of talks.
I will explain that there is no negotiations, but the fact that the enemy who sought our unconditional surrender now talks about negotiations, requests talks, and mobilizes its highest officials to negotiate with the Islamic Republic. This means accepting defeat. So far, the people of Iran, our armed forces, and all segments of the nation are truly the winners.
So you have both President Trump, who's been saying that the U.S. won this war from basically the first hour of the conflict, and Iran declaring victory at the same time, while there is a flurry of kind of behind-the-scenes communication going on. There's a lot of posturing, clearly, so we don't know exactly where the truth lies, and we're just going to have to watch closely if there is the possibility of some kind of negotiation coming together, as we've heard indications possibly as early as this weekend. But keep in mind, there was an active negotiation, there was diplomacy going on between Iran and the U.S. a month ago, and 2 days later, the U.S. and Israel began their surprise bombing campaign of Tehran that in the first day resulted in killing Iran's supreme leader and a number of other top Iranian officials. Alex.
Well, if there is a negotiation, Ivan Watson will be right there in the middle of it, live for us in Islamabad, where it is now Thursday morning. Ivan, thank you so much. We want to now bring into the conversation Rod Woolridge. He's a retired brigadier general with the California Army National Guard. He joins us from Arroyo Grande in California, where it is now Wednesday night. Thanks for being here. Welcome to the Story Is for the first time.
Good evening, Alex.
So one of the headlines of the day is that President Trump is sending troops to the region. But just because he's sending them doesn't necessarily mean he's going to use them, right?
That's right. The troops that they're talking about, in addition to the Marines they're sending some more Marines there, but they're talking about a brigade of the 82nd Airborne. and the 82nd Airborne serves as the immediate response force. So at any given time, one brigade from the 82nd is on a 2-hour recall to be wheels up in 18 hours and go anywhere in the world.
And you know what that's like because you were one of those paratroopers before. What could they do if they're there? What potentially could be their mission?
They first of all, they get there fast. That's the biggest thing. Is it doesn't take months or weeks or something to get them where they need to go. They can be there, again, wheels up in 18 hours of notification. But they're a very light force. So if the Pentagon is pre-positioning that brigade, it's a little bit smaller than a brigade. It's 2 battalions, the brigade commander, the division commander. But if they position it somewhere in the Middle East, they could be on the ground anywhere they need to be within a few hours. And typical missions are airfield seizure. So the second will jump onto an airfield, whether it's military or civilian, seize it, and then you can start to flow in heavier troops with more equipment, like strikers, or you can even fly in tanks. But they would seize the airfield so that you can flow in heavier forces. Or they could be like a raid where they don't intend to stay, and paratroopers jump onto some sort of target, do damage, and they're pulled out.
And meanwhile, the Marines would be focused on more of the amphibious part of this, right?
Likely, although the Marines have significant airlift that they're able to use as well. That MEU is very capable. The Marine Expeditionary Unit, the one that's there in CENTCOM now, and the one that's on its way, they have a lot of not just aircraft fighters, they're going to help in any type of assault, but they have a lot of lift assets, helicopters that will help them back and forth. But they typically stay within a couple 100 kilometers of the beach because that's where all their supplies flow through.
So you have been involved in the military for decades and studying this concept of Iran and potential conflict with Iran for decades. What makes Iran specifically so challenging, especially for boots on the ground?
Well, first of all, I mean, they got over 90 million people in the country. The topography, the geography is very difficult. There's a lot of if you were trying to move inland from the Persian Gulf or the Arabian Gulf, depending on what you call it, if you're trying to move inland to the northeast, there's these 1,000 or 2,000 meter ridges that you have to cross, and they're canalizing, making your formations very small. Or very tightly packed, so it's a difficult place to fight. And the IRGC, which is the real force that you have to contend with, the Revolutionary Guard, that's about 200,000 strong. So that's a lot more than the 2,000 that we're talking about sending now, or at least putting in the region now.
So if you really want to do that, it sounds like you got to send a whole lot more people before you're ready to really take that on. We will see what happens. We know for a lot of Americans that's a red line. They do not want to see ground troops in Iran. Rod Wooldridge, thank you so much for your service to our country, and thanks for sharing your perspective tonight.
All right, thank you.